a true mastermind, if you go back to Napoleon Hill, who coined the term, the concept is pretty simple. You put one person with a brain in a room with another person in a brain, and you create a third brain called the mastermind. And so if you multiply that and put 8 or 10 people in a room, and get their collaboration and support and co-creation, that's the sort of true mastermind concept. So
welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you're here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Jay. Jay, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, Michelle, I'm happy to be here. Always, any of your shows, I'm happy to be on.
Awesome. I love it. So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Awesome. So I'm Jay Fairbrother, the mastermind guy. Short version is a serial entrepreneur for 30 some years, founded, bought and sold 7-figure businesses, done a lot of coaching and consulting in between. And for 25 years, I've been involved in masterminds, facilitating, creating, running. And what I focus on now is helping entrepreneurs to create masterminds of their own as an income stream, as a high-end program or product, and way to leverage their expertise in a fun way that creates great impact for not only themselves, but for their clients.
I love it. So how did you get into masterminds per se? What was it that intrigued you about them?
Yeah. So, I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, but I vividly remember walking out of my first mastermind meeting 25 years ago and saying to myself, oh my God, I finally found my tribe. So nice. I started my first business when I was around 30 and was pretty successful out of the gate with, pretty quickly ramped it up to about $1 million in revenue. But I got stuck there. I couldn't seem to break beyond that sort of million range. And so I joined an organization called Young Entrepreneurs Organization. And that's where I got put into my first mastermind with other entrepreneurs. And what amazed me is that within 5 or 6 months, this first mastermind I was in happened to be all men. Within 5 or 6 months, I'm watching grown men cry in these meetings as they talked about their fucked up marriage and their, problems with their kids and how they have no life because the business is running their life. And it just really, I did not expect that because first of all, we joined the mastermind to help grow our businesses and become better entrepreneurs, not to talk about personal stuff. But that's the magic of what happens in a mastermind is you develop these really deep relationships with people. You get to levels of conversation that are much deeper than you can in almost any other kind of format because you build this container of safety and trust and confidentiality that people will go there. So that first mastermind I stayed in for 17 years. And that's what we call in the industry stickiness. When you, right. And create a program that people are going to join, not just for, 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 3 months, but for 6 months, 12 months, maybe even ongoing. So I started, I love the mastermind thing. I started joining all the masterminds that we created in the Entrepreneurs Organization. And I would sit in on them. The idea is I'd sit in and facilitate for the first few months, make sure they got off on the right foot, and then turn it over to somebody. I didn't exactly always leave after 3 months because I just loved it. And in my experience being, there's a whole backstory of me being kind of a lone wolf and not really having any deep level of adult human connection. For me, it was like, oh my God, like these people are like, these are my people, like these are people who have my back. So anyway, I joined multiple masterminds over those years, and then and also grew my business, as in large part as a result. Grew it to 200 employees, 10 million in annual revenue, sold it in 2004, and that was a fun time. And then a few years later, the Great Recession, 2008, 2010 financial crisis hit. And I lost everything. I mean, literally went from multimillionaire in a mansion to living in my friend's basement without a car. So it's been a journey.
Right. So now in helping people, and especially in setting up masterminds, who you say is your ideal client for your products or services, or who comes to you the most?
Yeah. So I have two primary targets. The first is coaches, speakers, authors, influencers who are doing, one-on-one coaching. Like for that market, typically people start out, they do one-on-one coaching. Maybe they create a course or a short-term group coaching program. And then it's kind of like, what's next? What's your higher end package to be able to scale and leverage your business? And if you look at the really successful 7-8 figure coaches, they all have high-end masterminds. So that's primary market. And then secondarily, it's an entrepreneur who is what I would call like a regional superstar, meaning they've created an incredible business for themselves on a local or regional basis without any aspiration to grow it nationally. And they can create a mastermind of other people in their same industry who want to learn how they became such a regional superstar. And it's a great way to add an additional 6 figures in mostly profit just by getting other people to pay you to share what you've already done in your industry. So those are the two primary targets for me.
So a lot of people have a kind of a notion of what they think a mastermind is. What, in your opinion, is a successful mastermind? What does it take to be able to create one?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll say, especially in the sort of coach or speaker, influencer industry, there's a lot of people that slap a mastermind label on a program that's really just glorified group coaching. But if they call it a mastermind, they can get more money and it sounds sexier. There's nothing wrong with that. But a true mastermind, if you go back to Napoleon Hill, who coined the term, the concept is pretty simple. You put one person with a brain in a room with another person in a brain, and you create a third brain called the mastermind. And so if you multiply that and put 8 or 10 people in a room and get their collaboration and support and co-creation, that's, the sort of true mastermind concept. So if you're aiming to create a true mastermind, it's typically 8 to 14 people. And the reason it's that small is because it's important in mastermind meetings that everyone in the room gets a voice during the meeting, right? So you don't want to have lurkers in the mastermind. You create that sort of collaboration and support and accountability. There's lots of things in between a true mastermind and group coaching. I call them hybrid programs. And part of what I try to teach is that if you trickle down some of the strategies and techniques that you use in masterminding, even to your group coaching programs, you're going to get better implementation, better results for your clients.
Nice. So when somebody's kind of thinking about putting together a mastermind or this program, and they're going, well, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what it's on. Are there ways of kind of finessing that so that it becomes more powerful than just going, hey, let's do one on business?
So first of all, let me address it. So to the coach, speaker, influencer market, like a lot of times, and I did this, I'm guilty of this too. When we start out, we're like, okay, I have expertise in this. This is what I can help people with and teach people. And we approach it from the standpoint of what can I create that people will buy? And with a high-end mastermind, what I challenge people to do is look at it from who would you wake up in the morning and be absolutely thrilled and juiced that you got to meet with them that day and run a mastermind meeting. The who becomes really important when you're looking at masterminds, because you want to create that safe, intimate space where people feel there's trust, they understand there's confidentiality. And so from the, what do you create standpoint, I always say, start with the who, figure out, who are the people you can most help? Who are the people you're excited to wake up in the morning and help? And then figure out how you can create a program to bring a bunch of those people together with common, fears, frustrations, and challenges, and also common aspirations and goals, so that you can create a mastermind together.
Love it. So when somebody's contemplating this, are there other factors that they need to consider? Like, are they going to do it in person? Are they going to do it virtually? Are they going to do it on a regular basis? Like, how do they start to put these pieces together? Or is it merely come take my course and you'll figure all that stuff out?
Yes, take my course and you'll figure it all out. Yeah, well, I love you use the word pieces, and that's exactly the way I talk about it, because one of my pet peeves in the expert industry is people who find one way of doing something and they successfully, granted, and then they go out and teach everybody else, just do exactly what I did, create what I created. I don't believe in that. I think everybody's got to figure out what's the right puzzle pieces to put in place so that you create a mastermind that takes advantage of your unique superpower and skills, and serves the audience, the who that you put together well enough. So, I think that in terms of looking at what you want to create, it's a combination of how many people do you want? Is it a true mastermind versus some hybrid kind of thing? And then what is the logical frequency for delivering results, right? So a couple examples, like I run an in-person mastermind here in Pittsburgh of $1 million up entrepreneurs, and we meet once a month, but that meeting is 3 to 4 hours long each month. Now that's in person, so that it's a little easier to have that kind of meeting. On virtual masterminds, which thankfully post-COVID, people are now don't blink twice at spending 90 minutes or 2 hours on a Zoom call. Typically for virtual masterminds, people are doing like an every other week or twice a month meeting, or some do weekly, but every other week. And if you're meeting every other week, I typically just look at 90 minutes to 2 hour meetings. And again, the important consideration is everybody gets a voice in the meeting. So you don't just have, like in a group coaching program where you have tons of people that just sit and listen and never participate. You don't want that in a mastermind.
Right. So what are some of the more interesting kind of topics that you've come across when people are setting up their masterminds?
Yeah, good question. So, my experience has been primarily with other entrepreneurs for 25 years in the masterminds that I've been in and created. But what a lot of people don't think about is, like, if your target market is not entrepreneurs, but if you're in a space where you help people with lifestyle changes or mindset changes or health changes, or those are perfect for masterminds, because most of the real client transformation doesn't take place in 6 to 8 weeks in a course, or even sometimes in a 3-month group program. Like, it's good to work with people for 6 months, 12 months, or just ongoing, to be able to deliver the best transformation for the people you're serving. Yeah.
Nice. So has anybody come up with something like underwater basket weaving for scuba divers, or? Just go, nope. not that I haven't heard that one.
No, so one of my mentor clients that I'm working with is creating a master. It's pretty cool because it's for tech entrepreneurs who aren't just completely startups, but are either funded or revenue generating. And she delivers a combination of kind of mindset and I'm trying to think of. I've helped her with the marketing language, so I should be able to rattle this off.
Be on top of this or not. It's all good. General concepts.
Yeah. So she's working on opening them up and giving them skills so that they can navigate the world that they're in. So, for instance, in that world, there's a lot of betrayal. there's, funders, there's partners, and most of these tech entrepreneurs at some point have dealt with levels of betrayal. Well, she takes it and talks about it not just in a business sense, but in a personal sense too. And she talks about their relationships and how to navigate their personal relationships in the same way they have to navigate their tech startup. So anyway, it's a very cool idea. It's a high-end mastermind she's working on. It's brilliant.
I love it. So what are some of the stumbling blocks that somebody might be having that's listening in on this going, mastermind, never thought of that before, to solve their problems? So is it that they don't have a high-end product? Is there something else going on in their business that masterminds can help them solve?
Yeah, I think so. There's for a lot of people, they just don't really have experience in a mastermind or with a mastermind. So that's first, just understanding some of the basics of what it is. Mm-hmm. Then there's a lot of people out there who have experienced a mastermind that wasn't that good. And that's not that uncommon. And there's a couple of main reasons that masterminds fall apart. One is that they're not creating that safe, trusted, confidential space. They're not focused on building the relationships between the members. So, that's an example where some people put a mastermind label on something, which is really just group coaching. But the other more common reason is that what I call parity is really important in creating a mastermind, meaning if you have people, kind of at one level and then people way up here at a different level, it's hard for them to consider themselves kind of peers or equals. And that can really mess up, especially in any of the content or training portion of what you're doing. You're either dumbing it down to, address the middle, or, the people at the bottom feel left behind. The people at the top are like, this is rudimentary. Why am I sitting here? So it's important that they don't have to be all exactly the same at, exactly the same level, but you don't want to put, a entrepreneur doing 250,000 in the same mastermind as somebody doing 20 million. And it's not necessarily because they don't have similar problems, because we all have, anyone in business has, people problems, cash flow problems, sales and marketing problems, process problems. That's universal, but it's important that the people in your mastermind have respect for each other, because that's the co-creation part. That's the collaboration part. So that's one of the main reasons that masterminds kind of fall apart.
Got it. So I know our listeners are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
First of all, if you have questions, I'm easy to reach by email. My email is jay@fairbrother.com. Feel free to, send me an email with questions, or if you want to find out more. I run 2 programs. One I'm actually launching here shortly. It's called Mastermind Mastery: Create and Launch Your High-End Mastermind in 60 days. And it's an 8-week program. I teach it live. And we go through the steps of conceiving of what it is, figuring out how to put those puzzle pieces together, who are the right fit people in there, packaging it into a marketable offer, and then actually filling a beta program within the 8-week period that we run the program. And then I also do a 3-day event, 6-Figure Masterminds Bootcamp. And that's for people who want to at least get the figuring out what they would create and who are the right people to put in it. And then we create in those 3 days sort of a plan on how you integrate that in the rest of your business and create a plan to launch it. So the next one I have coming up is November 2023. And basically I run these programs 3 times a year, taught live, and it's all me. I don't sub it out to anybody else.
Nice. I love it. So we will, of course, have all of your links in the show notes, so you can go and click on those links and check them out. And if you're listening to this after November of 2023, of course, feel free to go to fairbrother.com and get all the information from Jay, or email him, jay@fairbrother.com. And of course, links, we'll keep an eye on those as well, because we can update those as time goes on. It's one of the joys of having a podcast that is evergreen. Once it's out there, and but we want you to be able to find Jay anyways. Awesome. I love it. So I get to ask you at this kind of point in our conversation is, at what point in life did you know you're special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Um, yeah. So I've owned 9 businesses in 6 different industries, and I never necessarily set out to be an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur, but he died when I was 10. So I really, if anything, what that created in me is that sort of lone wolf nature, and kind of I'm out there on my own, and angry at the world because my father died so young. But my first business, was created because of an opportunity that basically someone gave me. I was, working a 9 to 5, and had done some consulting in that industry at the same time. And somebody approached me and said, "We're putting out an RFP, and if you'd like to leave your cushy job and bid on this, we'd be interested in looking at it." So I literally created my first company out of that. But I would say most of the opportunities in my business career are things that sort of either came my way or were an offshoot of something that I was already doing or interested in, or that kind of thing. So yeah, I didn't set out with a plan to be a 9-time entrepreneur. It just happened.
You just happened to be awesome and amazing, and the world took you on a ride. I love it. You have been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Yeah, if you're interested in this concept of the masterminds, it's not rocket science, but it's also good to know what you're doing and have a plan and help creating it. So I am in this because for the markets that I help, like I can run my own masterminds. I run a couple now, and I can help those people. But to have more impact in the world, I want to help people who help people. And to me, it's about creating that deep human connection. If you think about our world, digital disconnection, isolation, after COVID especially, we need more human connection on this planet. It could solve a lot of problems. So that's my, mission. That's my goal, is to create more human connection on the planet, and doing it one mastermind at a time.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate being here.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show, share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention. You do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap. They offer full implementation as well, if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.